I'm Matt Baer, and I'm head of effects on How to Train Your Dragon. Our biggest challenge in this film is coming up with dragon fire and the different varieties that we'd have to do. We pitched to the directors that each dragon would have its own type of fire, and we also hired this classic film pyrotechnician, and he did all sorts of explosions, created blue fire and red fire and fire blasts and blew up glass and that sort of thing. And the cool thing about it is we shot on these cameras that were capturing at 400 to 1,000 frames a second. And so it was great for everybody to just kind of go through and scrub through and see really kind of the different textures and the different things that you see in the fire. The thing I really like about the dragons on our film is that you really get a chance to watch them, and they don't talk, and they are kind of real animals, and we're really trying to give them kind of a sense of danger as well, that they are threatening, and the fact that Hiccup can actually make a relationship with them is really what I think is really interesting about watching the dragons. And personally, I just love watching the way that they move.
My name is Kathy Altieri. I'm production designer on the film. The film is asking me to stretch in ways I've never stretched before. Designing cloudscapes and trying to figure out how the clouds are going to choreograph themselves with what the camera's doing, with what the kids on the dragons are doing, is something beyond my wildest dreams. It's really hard. I mean, honestly, it's hard, and that's the other thing that I like about it, is that it makes you think and it makes you work for it. I think the design of the film is something that the audience feels. If there are artists out there looking at the film, they'll respond to it artistically, but generally, I think an audience member just feels it like they feel the music. They're moved emotionally by it, but they don't call attention to it. It's just part of their experience. It's part of the world that we create for them. There are fans, however, that will go into the films and like geek out over things, and that's really fun for us because we put a lot of stuff in there for them to find and to hunt out and to enjoy.
Simon Otto. I'm the head of character animation on How to Train Your Dragon. The human world is filled with fantastic characters that are extremely entertaining, but at the same time they have to deliver a believable storyline and a storyline that the audience believes in and actually gets emotionally attached to the main character and therefore the entire world. That was one problem or challenge, and the other challenge that we faced were the dragons. And I think that's where I kind of split my time in between those two worlds. And on the dragon side, what I did is I made sure that I studied all the material that was out there. And since dragons don't exist, at least we don't think they exist, we went to the animal world to look at what similar creatures that exist, like birds and bats and all sorts of reptiles and in some cases also mammals. And in addition to that, we also looked at pretty much every dragon film that exists out there, including actually dinosaur films as well.
My name is Craig Ring, and I'm the visual effects supervisor on How to Train Your Dragon. When we found out that we were making the whole movie 3D, it was both exciting for the challenge, but it was also a little intimidating because we had to do an enormous amount of learning. Composition in 3D is really different from composition in 2D. The classic photography things about taking a picture of someone with a tree growing out of their head doesn't grow out of their head in 3D because it's way back behind them. But you have to balance things not just on a horizontal image plane, but also in depth. For the look of the film, we've had kind of the same idea as the story has evolved, but the look has adjusted as the tone of the film shifted. It's a pretty dramatic movie. There's characters in life and death situations, and there's some pretty scary scenes, and we needed to make sure that the look wasn't too goofy or cartoony in those moments. So we've kind of adjusted how dramatic versus cartoony things were as the story went through the same adjustment.